Hey, second graders, we have 10 chapters left in Wayside 4, Beneath the Cloud of Doom. We'll definitely finish it before the end of the school year. Here's chapter 20. Inside the closet. The one outside Mrs. Jules's room? What do you think's inside? Jason did it. He finished reading all 999 pages. He was so tired he didn't know how he made it up the stairs to Mrs. Jules' class. He fell asleep somewhere around the 4th floor and woke up on the 28th. Did you finish your book yet? Allison asked him when he entered the classroom. She and Rondi giggled. Yep, said Jason. The girls' mouths dropped open. His book report only had to be 1 page, but Jason had written 10 pages. It was impossible to write only 1 page about a 999-page book. He wondered if anybody had ever written a book with more pages. Probably not. There was probably a law against writing a book with 1,000 pages or more. Do you know any books with 1,000 pages? I think some of you do. He brought the 10 pages and his 3 pictures to Mrs. Jules' desk. I guess if somebody writes a book with 999 pages, it has to be really good, or else nobody would ever read it. I don't know, Mrs. Jules admitted. I've never read a book that long. Jason sleepily handed over all his papers. Where's your paperclip? Asked Mrs. Jules. It got all bent in my backpack, he explained, too tired to think about what he was saying. Unbent, really. I guess the 999-page book was too heavy for it. He showed Mrs. Jules his paperclip, now unbent into a crooked line. Mrs. Jules put her hand to her mouth, horrified. You bent your paperclip? She gasped. Unbent, said Jason. Mrs. Jules stood up. You better come with me, she exclaimed. She grabbed Jason by his ear and yanked him toward the door. Ow, he whimpered. Whispers could be heard from all around the room. He read a 999-page book, but he bent his paperclip. He wrote a 10-page book report, but he bent his paperclip. No, he unbent it. Everyone, stop talking now, ordered Mrs. Jules. Don't leave your seat for any reason. She pulled Jason out of the room and slammed the classroom door behind her. She dragged him straight to the closet that wasn't there. Jason read the signs. Keep back. Do not open doors. Danger. Call the fire department if you smell something unusual. He sniffed. He didn't smell anything. Yet. Mrs. Jules turned the dial on the padlock as she quietly said the combination to herself. 24, 17, 6. The lock opened. But you said it wasn't there, Jason pointed out. Of course it's there, said Mrs. Jules. Hold this. She gave Jason one end of the heavy chain. He remained where he was as Mrs. Jules took the other end and walked 4 times around the closet, unwrapping it. Then she took Jason's end from him and tossed the chain aside. It clanged against the floor. A steel bar, held in place by 2 clamps, still blocked the closet door. The locks on the clamps had letters instead of numbers. Jason watched as Mrs. Jules set one lock to ABCD and the other lock to BDBC. The clamps snapped open. I'm really sorry about the paperclip, Mrs. Jules, said Jason. It's a little too late for that now, don't you think? She said. She lifted the steel bar and tossed it aside. A loud clank echoed down and up the stairs. Mrs. Jules walked down several steps. Jason watched, amazed, as she slid open a secret compartment hidden in the 3rd step from the top. She removed 2 keys, one red and one green. Each closet door had a keyhole. One was green, the other red. Mrs. Jules put the green key in the red hole and the red key in the green hole. I have to turn them toward each other at precisely the same time, she said, or else it will trigger the sirens and smoke screen. Jason held his breath as he watched her turn the keys. The doors clicked open. Ever since the closet first appeared, he and his friends had been trying to guess what was inside. They imagined all kinds of horrible things, but what Jason saw now was worse than anything they ever imagined. The closet was empty. Don't lock me in there, Mrs. Jules, he pleaded. I didn't do it on purpose. The book was too heavy. He tried to remember all the things he had seen and heard. 3rd step from the top. Red key in green hole. 27, 6, 14, ABCD. It was too much. It was slipping out of his brain faster than he could remember. Call the fire department if you smell something unusual. I don't want to become the unusual smell, he cried. What are you blabbering about? asked Mrs. Jules. "Why would I lock you in the closet?" She bent over. Jason looked again. The closet wasn't completely empty after all. There, in the back corner, was a small cardboard box. What do you think is in that cardboard box? Mrs. Jules picked it up. A price tag stuck to its side read 89 cents. Mrs. Jules opened the top flap and removed a paperclip. "Now don't tell anyone where you got this," she said as she handed it to him. "I won't," he promised. She put the box back in the closet, then shut and locked the doors, turning the colored code keys in opposite directions. She returned the keys to their secret hiding place. She grunted as she lifted the steel bar, and then again when she set it in place. She snapped the clamps shut and spun the dials on the locks. Jason picked up one end of the chain and walked 4 times around the closet. Mrs. Jules secured the padlock. "I'm very proud of you, Jason, for finishing the whole book," she said. "I was kind of sorry when it ended," he said. Teacher and student returned to class. What were you expecting in that giant closet? A small, tiny box of paper clips? Probably not.